If you aren't already using the Autofill tool, which is that little box that appears in the bottom right corner of any selected cell or range of cells, then I'm about to change your life. And if you are already using that Autofill tool, then I'm about to show you just how versatile that tool actually is, because it's one of the best, and it does a lot more than people realize. Because that Autofill isn't just about copying data, it copies patterns. Let me show you some examples. Now, the way most people use autofill is for formulas. So for example, I could add a simple sum function to this first row of headers, and rather than having to recreate this function over and over, I can use the autofill handle, which appears in the bottom right corner of the cell. Note that when I hover over that spot, I get the black plus sign. That indicates that I'm in the right place. And then with a simple click, hold, and drag, I can copy that formula down. Note that this automatically recreates the formula using these nice references for each row known as relative references. And of course, that would work across rows as well. If, for example, I selected the first cell in the row total at the bottom, a click, hold, and drag across will do exactly the same thing. But the autofill handle is a lot smarter than simply copying formulas. In fact, it knows patterns. Let me show you what I mean. Let's start with simple text. I'll put in my name, and then once again selecting my name and hovering over the autofill handle. With a click, hold, and drag, I can copy my name as much as I want. Let's say I also wanted to put a little bit more information, like Alex 1. Now when I select that cell and use the autofill handle, Autofill is smart enough to recognize I want to do a pattern and extrapolate those numbers out. Now by default, let's say I just wanted to make a list of numbers. If I just put in the number 1 and use the autofill handle, it's actually going to assume that basic copy. However, I can also indicate a pattern. For example, 1 and then 3. Now when I select both of those numbers together and click and drag, Excel knows to add 2 to each line, and I get a series of odd numbers. Remember that in Excel, dates are also seen as numbers. So for example, I could do this with dates. I'm going to put in today's date, and we'll go ahead and format this as a long date so that we can really see what's happening. With that autofill handle in the bottom right corner, a simple click, hold, and drag, we see that Excel is going to extrapolate out all the subsequent dates automatically. However, Excel can let me do more complex patterns, including formatting. For example, let's say that every other Friday is payday, and I'm going to select that second Friday and make it yellow. Now, as long as I select one full sequence of this pattern, that would be Monday through the second Sunday, now with that autofill in the bottom right corner, I click and drag as far as I want to go, every other Friday will now be highlighted for my payday. Excel also knows some innate patterns. For example, it knows the days of the week. If I put in Monday and use the autofill handle, without the dates, it will still know the days of the week. It also knows abbreviated days of the week. So MON will extrapolate out the abbreviated days of the week. It knows months of the year. Let's say March, starting with March, with that autofill handle, it'll know the fully spelled out months and the abbreviated versions of those months as well. One other really cool thing about autofill is not only does it know patterns that actually exist, it also will take guesses at patterns. Meaning, if we went back to our first sheet and I wanted to take a guess at what the next 4 quarters might look like, I could, in fact, select this data. There's no obvious and discernible pattern here. However, with the autofill handle and a click and drag to the right, it's going to use the classic y equals mx plus b. In other words, the slope of a line to take a shot or a guess at what those subsequent values would be per row. In fact, if I do a quick insert chart, Just to see what this might look like, we can see how as the fifth quarter began, all of these lines became linear, and we see the slope of the line extrapolated with a simple click and drag using the autofill handle. So there you have it, the autofill handle. It's a lot more than just a copy. It's a pattern recognition and recreation tool, and it will save you a ton of time.